All right, I'll go real quick. All right. This is a much longer presentation I did on my own channel, but I want to catch you guys up on what I'm thinking about Teslas lately. All right, here we go. First of all, Texas, we got 44 wheels stolen off a Tesla in the parking lot. We got superchargers on fire in Massachusetts. We got protesters arrested in New York. We got protesters arrested in Georgia. We got paint and vandalism in Berkeley. We got shots fired in Oregon. We got swastikas drawn on cars in Europe.
God.
Okay? And 3 months ago, none of this was happening. Elon Musk, $400 billion, richer than Mansa Musa and John D. Rockefeller, richest man in human history. Richer than every single fictional rich person combined, according to Forbes.
Scrooge McDuck?
Much richer than Scrooge McDuck. Significantly richer than Scrooge McDuck. And then in the past 3 months, Tesla drops 50%. All right? Astronomical amount to drop. That's $800 billion in market cap lost. That's equivalent to, I'm going to skip ahead here, Toyota, Mazda, Subaru, Ford, Nissan, Rivian, Honda, Ferrari, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Aston Martin, Hyundai, Kia, VW, GM, and BMW combined all going to zero in 3 months. And then lighting $10 billion on fire on top of that. So it's a significant loss. Like, it's worth talking about. From a business POV, for me, it's fascinating because that's not normal. That's I think about something like Enron collapsing. That was like 20 billion. That's nothing by comparison. So it's a big deal. And you could say, if I asked why, people might show you this clip of Elon possibly Sieg Heiling, possibly Roman saluting. And, you could point to that as one political thing, but I want to go into a deeper business context, which is that basically, sorry, skip this.
Like you had the Iron Man 2 screenshot in there?
Yeah, you could point to him being Iron Man. You could point to him cheating in Path of Exile. You could point to all that. But the whole point is that regardless of what you think about all this stuff, it's causing a reputational problem with a certain class of consumer. And these people used to buy a lot of EVs. So in every country they sell in other than China, Tesla's reputation score keeps falling. For a business, regardless of politics, that's just bad, right? That just means it's harder to sell cars. Especially when, if you do the math, and I got a little craft here. I mean, Aiden, do you want to guess what the top 10 states that bought EVs voted for in this election? We think they were blue or red.
Oh, tough call. Tough call.
Well, they were all blue.
I'm going to go blue on that.
They were all blue. This is 2020 election. I don't have the data for. But, and then what do you think about the 10 states that bought the least EVs?
I mean,
you think they were red?
They're red. They're red.
Yeah, you guessed it right. They're red. So It's like, even if you're switching one consumer for the other, in the states that are red, they're just buying. They don't care as much about EVs. Their towns might not even have as many chargers. It's not, the infrastructure's not there. They don't care as much. And so it's not a one-to-one trade to piss off one group for the other if you're an EV car selling company. So, I got this poll here. 55% of Republicans say there's no chance at all they'd ever buy an EV in the next decade. Oof. That's a tough market to sell into. That's a hard pivot. Oof. If you sell cars. All right. Second thing, we're possibly entering a recession, and late car payments right now, this article's from like 3 days ago, have hit the highest level since they started recording the data. So people are not making their car payments, especially subprime, which makes it a weird time for Tesla to be offering 0% down, 0% APR loans. It's like 2006 for housing, dude. They're just doing a bunch of this like car giveaway that I think will be problematic if people can't pay their bills. So from a business side, I get like all this stuff makes me nervous about investing in Tesla, right? Then I looked at the top 10 countries they sell in. It's down 76% in Germany, down 63% in France, down 70% in Canada, down 81% in Australia, down 38 in Norway, 44 in Sweden.
It's going to come up later, so I'm going to interject.
Okay.
This is recent. This is like last 2-ish months,
yes,
right?
This is correct.
So I was actually going to ask that a version of that question, because my understanding was relative to the rest of the EV market, they were already starting to trend down because of the basically quality of EVs offered by other companies. So is this accelerating from that? And it sounds like yes.
Yeah, there's also an argument, so which we'll talk about later. There's also an argument, the Model Y is their biggest selling car by far. That's like almost all of Tesla's sales. It's one of the best selling cars in the world. Right now, they're doing a refresh and they're releasing a new version of it in like a month or two. So in the last 2 months, Tesla has been pitching the thing of, we are releasing a newer, better version of Model Y extremely soon. So that could justify, and who knows exactly how much, some amount of people no longer wanting to buy the main car that Tesla's selling, right?
100%.
Like, you wouldn't buy the PS5 if the PS6 is coming out in 2 months for the same price.
100%. And it's also worth saying, like, if your Q1 sales are down from Q4, Well, Q4 is the end of the year. People make big purchases, Christmas time.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to be down. But this is this is not a normal amount of drop. And they're down year over year too. So they're down over January of last year. They're just down. So, outside of the UK, 9 out of 10 of these countries, it's down, right? So that's a bad look in general. And I think it's because, listen, in China, nobody cares about Musk's politics. They don't care. They actually think he's the coolest tech guy. They still think he's Tony Stark.
There's not a lot of like anti-Elon sentiment pumping on Waymo.
No. On Billy, he's still based, okay? They have no problem.
They're living the Iron Man 2 dream still.
They still think he's Iron Man. But the problem is, there's other Iron Mans now in China, which is mainly this company, BYD, Build Your Dreams, who is offering Tesla-like cars for way less that are built for the Chinese market. So they have just massively outstripped Tesla's sales recently. And because they're made in China, they're built by a Chinese company that knows what Chinese consumers want, they're just getting outcompeted. So that's like another pressure on Tesla that makes me scared again to be an investor.
Quick thing.
Yeah.
I was curious, have either of you ridden in one of those?
A BYD? No, have you?
In a BYD model?
BYD? No.
I did. And when I went to Mexico recently, and a ton of the Ubers are BYDs. And I was in a pretty like base, cheap model.
Okay.
Very nice car. It was like, it was super functional. I asked the guy, I used Google Translate to talk to my Uber driver. I know. I love talking to Uber drivers. And he was talking about how much he loves the car and how good and like useful it's been for specifically his job. Yeah. And the inside of the car was awesome. Like, a lot of like new cars are nice, right? But I was pretty impressed, and it was my first time ever riding in one.
I was considering driving down to Mexico, buying a Chinese EV and smuggling it back into the United States to not pay the tariff. Yeah. And then I looked up what would happen to me. The fine is astronomical and I could get jail time for smuggling.
That's worth it. Do it for the pod, dude. Research.
I really thought it'd be like a minor slap on the wrist.
the jail fine.
The lawyer and the
right.
It's a company expense.
It's just good business.
I looked into, there's a model of car called I don't know if Perry could pull this up. It's called the Renault Twizy.
Okay.
And it's a really, really tiny, like street electric vehicle that I saw in Paris.
This is European?
And it costs like $15K. Yeah, Renault's like a French car manufacturer. And I looked so hard to see how you could import one of these, like even if you have to pay fees and stuff, but you can't make it street legal in the US. So there's no real way of doing it.
Only Europeans would call a car a Twizy.
The Twizy.
Yeah.
And
with no shame.
You couldn't sell that.
Dude, it's like basically a golf cart. It's so funny.
My God.
This is it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's...
Cool.
But I just I was looking at the same thing, like what would it cost to like import one of these cars that we don't have. But but
all right, so just a very quick math here. This is my simple, dumb business major brain. There's a thing called PE ratio, basically what a company's worth divided by what it actually makes in earnings. All right, a company like Ford or most car companies, it's between 5 and 10. Pretty normal for a stable, mature business.
So this means like what their total market value is 5 to 10 times what they make in a year?
That's right. So it's basically an idea for an investor of like how quickly you'll get your money back in a way.
Okay.
And it's based on, if it's a really high number, that means you actually expect the amount they make to go up rapidly because nobody's going to wait 20 years.
Yeah.
So a company like Apple might be 35 times because it's a high growth tech company, right? So they have people expect the revenue to keep rising. And all that makes sense because they make $96 billion in profit a year. They're just a cash generating geyser. Profit. This is after all expenses. I'm being told to stand closer to them. I'm getting so heated about Apple. I love how much money they make. Google makes $100 billion in profit. Microsoft makes $88 billion. Meta makes $62 billion, up 39%. Amazon makes $59 billion, up 94%. Nvidia has a PE of 60 something, which is incredibly high, but they're up 144%, making $72 billion pure, clean cash profit. Can you guess what Tesla's profit was last year?
I'll say, I'm guessing it's very low. I'll say something like 2 billion. Low relative to these companies.
You're ruining my reveal because that's way too low. No, it's 7 billion. But
you gotta like look shocked to be like, I don't know, 50 billion? And you set him up. You set him up for the big.
It's the Magnificent Seven, Aiden. They're all 7 companies are considered the big tech companies. All of them generate 50 billion plus in profits, except for Tesla, which makes $7 billion, a 52% decline. So their profits are way lower and they're declining. So why are they worth 1.5 trillion the way these other companies are? That's my big question. And so now they're only down to 7 to 22 billion. But if you do their PE ratio today, it's still 101. So they're still implying a level of growth that I think is not there. So,
and that's saying that the market thinks that Tesla is worth 100 times what they're making in a year right now.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And again, what they're making, it's 7 billion, but like 2 billion of that was like Bitcoin going up. They hold some Bitcoin. Yeah. So their actual profits are like closer to 4. And that's just not enough to be worth 720, to be worth more than all of those car companies I listed earlier. So that's my core thesis is like, there's so much hopium built into this. And so, if you do the math with the normal PE ratio of like an Apple, they're worth about 84 bill based on what they make and based on being valued like a normal tech company. So the rest of that is all this hype of what we're going to talk about later. It's self-driving, it's Optimus robots, it's robo-taxis, it's a possible new $25,000 car. All that stuff is what is like being hopiumed in to this massive valuation. And I don't believe it, or I don't believe all of it. Maybe it's like some of it might come to fruition, but I don't believe those are going to come out to make billions in pure clean profit the way Apple launching a new iPad or earbuds will do. That's my core business thesis here is like, I'm not buying it. And I got to say, Elon Musk perhaps in the past has been less than truthful, right? I probably don't have it in here. But he's occasionally overpromised. I think even his biggest fans.
He's blown past a couple deadlines.
He's done that. Okay, to be fair, he's done that once or twice every year since Tesla started.
So that's why I get, from an investing POV, I get a little nervous.
Things got a little sidetracked when they made the flamethrower, dude. I don't know what
Speaking of sidetracked, every dot on this chart is a tweet. You'll notice after 2022, it gets blood red. He's tweeting thousands of times a month. And, he's got 14 kids. He's got 10 businesses or whatever. It's like, as a Tesla investor, are you really getting his full attention and value as a CEO of a $744 billion company? So here's a quote from Elon. I'll just end on this before we get into our big discussion. He said, when looking at our actual, this is from 2020, and it's kind of like a small interview. I don't think he knew this would go so big, but when looking at our actual profitability, it's very low. Investors are giving us a lot of credit for future profits, but if at any point they conclude that's not going to happen, our stock will get crushed like a souffle under a sledgehammer. That's what I'm saying. If at any point everybody has the same thought that I do, which is this is not going to happen, this stock is worth so much less than it's currently being valued. And he's also got one more quote, and this is going to lead to what we're talking about.
This quote is important for me and for my point. Yeah.
But the overwhelming focus is solving full self-driving. So, yeah, and that's essential. And like that's really the difference between Tesla being worth a lot of money and being worth basically zero. Yeah. So
that's our argument. Is it worth a lot of money or is it worth basically zero? And I think I can sit back down. That's basically the main thing I want to say.
Yeah. And that is ultimately the crux of why anybody would think that it's worth 100 times what it's making is that bet, which is full self-driving. Should I drive into some full self-driving?
Yeah.
Right.
So can I go to a disclaimer? I'm not a tech guy. And I
can tell.
I have many times been impressed by the tech Tesla's rolled out. Tesla and Elon has rolled out.